next meeting then?
And as what?
Is combining and give us the options. Can it be part
Part appointed, part
appointed,
elected.
part elected? And we have to decide, do we want it all appointed, all elected, combination of the two? And do we want to go in that direction? So, no decision on that tonight. Number 4 on the agenda, we will conduct a final review of all other charter changes and if necessary, conduct a vote. Should we start reading the charter from the very beginning and we'll just vote on what we want to keep as is?
I think the intention was for Mr. Gottschalk to go through everything that we've done to date and see if there's any revisions to those.
I just wanted to clear the room.
I think you were successful.
We have a way of doing that.
I think you were successful,
Mr. Gottschalk.
including the
sir.
commissioners.
I put together a list, or I've been keeping the list and adding to it, that purports to show all the action that you take. Started back in January on the 28th, when you adopted changes to 3.4, 4.2, 6.4, 7.8, and 8.3. So I'm going to, until you stop me, I'm going to track your actions, section by section, chronologically. So let's get going. 3.4 is the first one you took action on, and that had to do with public speaking. Would you like to go through that? Because we've already touched on it.
I think the only thing with that one was the issue that was brought up about opening that to legal representatives.
Yeah, and frankly, if you'll permit me,
Yes.
a lot of people, or at least some, are suggesting that this shouldn't be an opportunity for lawyers to get up and speak. And it is true that when I prepared language for you, I used the phrase legal representative. And maybe that's wrong. Maybe it should just say representative. I mean, I'm kind of leaning that way. If I had a vote, that's what I'd vote for. But I leave it up to you to decide. I'm certainly not trying to eliminate the opportunity for somebody to have a voice through legal counsel, but I wouldn't want to necessarily limit it to lawyers. You know, if I don't speak properly or well, and I want my brother to speak for me, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. So just keep that in mind. Perhaps what I'll do is just draw your attention to what was approved on 128. Council at each meeting shall reserve the initial 1/2 hour period for the expression of views and opinions by residents or taxpayers of the city or their legal representatives on matters before the council at such meeting. Any such public speaking session may be extended in the discretion of the presiding officer, provided, however, that the decision of the presiding officer may be reversed or modified by a majority vote of the common council.
Okay,
That's where we stand.
No.
you want to take a
I
couple
have a
minutes on
question.
this? Yes.
Can I ask him a question about this? Has anybody ever brought an action or claim against the city of Danbury saying that they were denied a chance to address the council by the fact that they were not residents of the city of Danbury?
No one has brought an action against the city
Based on that?
based on that. But it has happened that people have sought to speak through their legal counsel. And because legal counsel wasn't from Danbury, they were denied that opportunity.
It appears to me that the primary objection to this is that opportunity of the public to come, petition the council, their elected representatives, will be just they'll be crowded out by, paid hired guns advocating commercial interests. How often do people advocating a commercial interest appear in front of the council and present, their 2 cents at a council meeting?
Infrequently.
And the last thing would be, every now and then, and we all can recollect a more recent experience, there's a lightning rod issue in the city of Danbury, where people from out of town might crowd into town and want to come address the council. Now, in a situation like that, to me, it makes sense that the city only hear from its residents, where, period. rather than people from other towns or communities. And this seems to open that up a little bit, if we were to word it here. Is it wrong to leave, would it be a bothersome to leave discretion within the presiding officer or the body of the council to decide how they can limit who gets to speak? I mean, because if we put it right in the charter, you know, I could get my cousin from Waterbury to come talk allegedly on my behalf. And we could occupy a lot of time with people who weren't really from Danbury on contentious issues. And it seems like the council is just stuck with that. They can't change the rules, so to speak, as we go along. And that sort of bothers me a little bit.
I think you have a wide flexibility when it comes to what you want to do here. And I'm reluctant to, I've already kind of given you my 2 cents on this section. And rather than extend my remarks, I think this conversation ought to come from you.
Okay.
Let's hear it, everybody, because I think we might be able to resolve this. Diane?
I know that, that we wrote into the language that the speaking period could be extended, you know, upon the vote of the majority of the council. Could we have it where legal representatives are allowed to represent citizens, or maybe not, or just a representative, not necessarily a legal representative, upon the approval of a majority vote or something like that? Just make it so that it's something that has to get pre-approved before they could take the time up, giving the case about what they want to speak about.
In other words, doing the discretion, the council would have the discretion.
Well, but then that would require a vote. I mean, understand what happened is, people would come to council meetings, rarely, but they would come, and if they didn't get in the first half hour, they didn't get a chance to address the council. We were trying to fix that piece, which was be reason, we were obviously a little too much discretion once in a while here with letting people go, but feeling that we needed, people should have the right to address their council. I would be very comfortable taking that language or their legal representatives out, because it's not a court. People have come to tell them that they think that potholes need to be fixed faster, or taxes should be lower, and I don't think you need your legal representatives for most of the things that come before it, and I would be worried about if there was some lightning rod issue, as Peter says, where suddenly advocates from around the country decide that this is going to be their test case because Danbury is, for whatever reason, on the cutting edge of some new issue. So I would be inclined to take out those 4 words, or their legal representatives, and feel like we could move on with that. Do people agree or disagree?
Right,
Or
but then how do they get the option to have a
Well,
representative? Will that then become the council's discretion? I'm not saying
My-
legal,
my
'cause
language wouldn't-
I agree with him, I don't think you need to put in legal representation. A representative is enough.
Well, legal doesn't necessarily mean lawyer.
No.
Well-
It can be a
I know
legal
what you're
representative
talking
as
about, yeah.
opposed, and I think that's actually a good phrase to keep in there, as opposed to somebody saying, well, I represent them. They should, you know, if
Well,
they're
I
gonna
think-
represent them, they should present some sort of document that says that I'm authorized to speak for this
Right,
person.
but no, I agree with that, but I think that can be covered through some vehicle through the council, and just put representative in there.
if we're happy with the language, we'll leave it and move on.
You know, Mr. Chairman, I share the same concern as Commissioner Bezade. You know, and I like the intent of our council that says he wants to open it up to more people, that they can, if they're not capable of being here, either due an illness or a handicap or live out of time, they should have the right of having somebody represent them in front of the common council. And I guess, you know, I'm not great with words, so I would leave it to Mr. Bezade and Mr. Gottschalk to try to come up with the right intention here. Yes, Mary, I'm sorry.
I noticed on our minutes that our first item tonight, the commission will accept comments from the public limited to 2 minutes per person. Is that something that we could just give that, and then all the lawyers could talk all they want, but they only had 2 minutes? Could we limit them?
That could be at the discretion of the
We certainly
presiding
could,
officer.
but we kind of left it to the discretion of the council to do that. If we put it in there, then they're limited to 2 minutes. The fact
Yeah.
is, I think that could be used to exclude people. But yes, could we? Absolutely. It was in the minutes tonight as a reminder to your chairman to kind of hold discussion.
And he did a marvelous job.
Yeah,
Note to self, 2 minutes.
So, anyway.
So we didn't abide by it, but that's.
Yeah.
Does the council now have any restrictions on how long you can speak?
30 minutes.
Bef-
By individual?
Yes,
No.
they don't,
And what happens is, we've heard
Right.
that people come to council
and go on forever.
wanting to speak and don't get the opportunity.
Right.
So we were trying to make it more available to people, that the charter isn't to be used to keep people from speaking. Maybe the business of the council can be used to keep them from speaking, but the charter shouldn't be an impediment. And now what we've heard is that maybe we've opened it up too much, because if I am somebody's attorney and I want to come and just speak on and on and on,
What
the
if we,
question is, I mean, if we're happy with it, let's move on.
Mr. Chairman, what if we take after may be extended, and we put in, or limited per person at the discretion of the presiding officer? Would that solve this issue? See what I mean, Rick?
That was Diane's suggestion.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. Did you understand Diane's suggestion? I for one would like to see wording where we'd leave it, we'd allow the council or the presiding officer and then the council to decide whether or not to listen to anybody's legal representative. If they're not busy that night, maybe they want to.
Leave it or move on, guys. Do we want to amend this?
I'd like to amend it.
Would you make a motion, please?
I'd like to amend this by allowing the presiding officer, subject to being reversed or modified by the common council, the discretion to decide whether or not a legal representative may speak to the common council. And that was inartfully worded.
Okay, so we change this, opinions by residents or taxpayers of the city, or at the discretion of the
That's correct.
presiding officer, their legal representatives?
That's correct.
We leave in this first part about the session can be extended over.
That's
Yes.
correct. I'm not touching that.
All right,
Okay,
yeah.
that's a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded that we add the words "at the discretion of the presiding officer," just after the word "or," is that right? The second "or," taxpayers of the city or their legal representatives. Have you got that?
Or at the discretion of the presiding officer? Okay.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded that we change that language to give the presiding officer discretion. Any more discussion about that?
Does the presiding officer have the ability to limit the time unless, if they want to? Does the president of the council have the ability right now to, at the beginning of a public session, say, because of the number of people we have here, we are limiting discussion to 2 minutes per person?
I believe I've seen that, I know that I've seen presiding officers encourage people to keep their comments short, to not repeat comments that have already been made, and keep the public speaking session moving.
Okay, so they already have that capability, so they can do that. So we don't need to put anything in here.
All right.
Okay. Paul?
You know, as we look at this amendment, I think we've all had a recognition previous to this and continue to have the recognition. We're begging for more public participation. The amount of apathy in voting and attention to attendance at meetings. And so I think the other issue is we've always looked at, we're looking now at the charter. We're going back and redoing things that we've already voted on, and And I think we're losing sight of, A, what the charter's all about, and B, what the original amendment, the original reason we amended 3-4 was to increase, how can, we limited the legal representation to someone, that legal representative had to be there on behalf of someone who was a citizen or a taxpayer. So it's not like they're coming in and making, so to limit that person to being a taxpayer himself or a resident, it makes no sense whatsoever. And to allow someone who possibly can't make, they're in a hospital bed, or to not allow that person to have a legal representative to come and speak on their behalf, just limits the flow of ideas. And these are, we have commissioners on this Charter Revision Commission who recognize that we're looking at, now you're looking at limiting these things, and we're adding language to limit. It's like going back and we're now revisiting things that we've already decided at first blush. It was a chance to expand the amount of public participation, to expand the amount of ideas that go before the council. And if you all think that the charter is a place to start limiting those things, then you should vote for this amendment, but I can't see it no more than I can see the way we've been revisiting everything we've done already. It's beginning to trivialize the process that we've been going through up till now. We're allowing ourselves to be bullied into positions that we've already taken, and for good reason. And this charter is not a document to micromanage. It's a document to allow the citizens and those who are governing to do their jobs. And as we now go back, we're now taking that all back away. So I would vote against that amendment, leave it exactly the way it was, because I think it's very clear that the legal representatives have to be on behalf of a resident, and if they need more time, we've given them more time to expand or not expand. It's all within their power, so I would vote against it.
Any other comments?
I think it's well stated.
Let me ask you a question about the word legal. Should that be taken out? Should it just be somebody's representative? If someone is afraid or unable to speak before the council, can they have their brother or cousin speak for them, even though they're not a legal representative? Is that language confusing?
I think it should stay in there. I think that anybody other than the taxpayer, if it's gonna appear before the common council, they ought to, have some documentation proving that they do represent that person, as opposed to, otherwise you really open it up.
So, okay, so
It
it doesn't have to be an attorney,
lawyer.
it's gotta be, okay.
Right, but you
All
see, that
Dr.
doesn't
Cronin?
say, when you say legal, everybody thinks of an attorney. If we could put it in and somehow say, not necessarily, I mean, I don't know, because legal to all, I bet you everybody in this room, if I said legal, what would they think of?
Somebody who's legally
I
there
do
to
agree, they
represent
should
them.
have some kind of documentation, or a specific form, maybe, or whatever, they'll let the council do that. You wanna speak for so-and-so, fill this out, you're coming this night, here, bring this, and,
That's a
show
good
that you.
point.
That's one thing, but the minute you say legal, everyone thinks of an attorney.
What's
An
the problem
authorized
with that?
representative.
I mean, I know I'm an attorney and I'm speaking for
No, no,
what,
no, I have no problem with that.
I think that's
but
exactly
every-
what's supposed to be.
No, I have no problem with that.
How
but you
about
got all the
authorized?
public
An
thinking that it's,
authorized representative.
Designated,
Authorized?
designated would work, but,
Authorized, designated.
it's just,
Good.
is it a concern? That's all I'm asking, because I'm thinking of someone that doesn't speak English that might want their son or daughter to come.
Oh, I
And
agree,
as
that's what
opposed,
I was
just
thinking of.
someone who's better with the
Absolutely.
English language, because we used to have that at the Board of Ed, where it became an issue.
Maybe somebody
They
in,
didn't need an attorney, they needed someone that spoke English a little
Right.
better.
I have a question.
Paul.
Rick, do you think that the common council will look at the word legal and limit that to lawyers? Because that would be a travesty also.
I believe it's possible, yes.
See,
That would be, Dr. Cronin, and in that respect,
that's what I'm talking
because that's exactly the opposite of what we're trying to
about.
do
Yeah,
here.
absolutely, absolutely.
That was my concern.
And maybe that's where you were
It's not
trying-
what I intended
Maybe your
Right.
word,
when I
Paul.
put in the word legal.
Designated.
But it's what has been stated, and to the extent that it might be ambiguous for some people, I would want to avoid that. Consistent with what you're saying, Commissioner Swenson, to expand and broaden the opportunity to speak before the common council, not to limit it.
That's absolutely. I
Then
agree
maybe
with
we
that.
should go to authorized.
Yeah.
If Rick,
Designated.
Right.
All
or
right.
designated.
Well, right now, we have a motion on the floor. We would need to amend that emotion. Do we want to amend that emotion, that emotion? Amend that motion.
Do you remember
Paul?
what it was?
Did you want to amend it?
No, I was gonna vote against it, the amendment.
No. Did you want to change this legal to designated or authorized?
Yes.
Right now, the motion is that we add the words at the discretion of the presiding officer.
Hold it.
Hold on one minute.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I would recommend that you take these as two separate motions,
Okay.
because otherwise you're going to
That's right.
You think we're gonna
invite
confuse
a
folks?
division of the question.
Okay, a motion's on the floor that we add the words "at the discretion of the presiding officer" after the words "taxpayers of the city or." If you vote in favor of that, that then becomes the language. If you vote no, then that is not the language that's in there. So all in favor, please raise your hand. Two in favor. All opposed? The motion does not carry. Paul, did you want to make a motion, or Dr. Cronin?
I forgot where we are.
I would make a motion that
The one
we,
about the legal piece. Changing it
yeah,
to designated.
we keep the language as stated, except
Yeah.
we take the word legal
And change it to
Make
the-
and change it to
Designated,
Authorized.
authorized, I think.
Authorized.
authorized?
All right,
At
we'll
least
give- We'll
that's-
give you that.
Okay,
Semantics.
a motion's been made. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, that we change the word legal to authorized legal representatives to authorized representatives. The motion's been made and seconded. Discussion. Mary?
Would it make sense to say, for their legal or authorized representatives?
Why?
That covers both.
Just covers both. Doesn't leave room
Authorized.
for any interpretation. It's your legal or your authorized representative. It's very plain. It's either your lawyer or your.
So you're telling the
or your
council
friend.
that people can
Right.
bring the attorneys in
Right.
if that's what they so
Right.
choose?
Same
Or your
as
authorized. Legal, it just
Okay, so if our word authorized, do you want to amend that?
without legal.
But when they have, if they have to be authorized, who cares if they're
Who
a
cares?
lawyer, a
But
doctor,
not
a,
authorized,
you
all right.
know, butcher, the whatever.
Candlestick maker.
Just say that.
You getting tired out there at this table?
Come on, you guys, let's
I hope
keep
he's not
moving,
running
let's
that
keep
table.
moving.
Doctor, lawyer, Indian.
Okay.
All right, a motion's been made and seconded. Any more discussion about the word authorized? Do we want to change that?
Yeah, no.
All right, I will try your minds. All in favor of changing the word legal to authorized, raise your hand. All opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Hey, these were the easy things, you guys. All right, let's go to this, the next section, 4-2.
4-2.
Oh, man.
4-2.
This is the gifts and donations to the city, that the mayor could accept things up to $1,000. And all he would do is, with the acceptance of each such.
Mr. Chairman, I sat in on a couple of council meetings, and this does seem to take up a great deal of time. I think, while I understand the minority opposes this and they would like to be involved in this process, we've heard from several other people who highly recommended that this could be easily dispatched with the mayor's office, with a posting to the common council and a common letter go out.
Okay.
I would suggest that we keep the current language.
Anyone want to change it? The word devise, D-E-V-I-S-E, that is what it is?
Device?
Yes.
Yep, not familiar with the term.
Grant by will.
Yes.
I'm not an attorney. Thank you.
Move on.
Anyone want to make changes?
Accept it.
Language in 6-4, claims against the city may be compromised or settled by the corporation council with the approval of the mayor, as long as it falls within the limits of the insurance issued by the city. I think there was some confusion about that tonight, but we were very specific that it was about insurance. Anyone want to change that?
No, Mr. Chairman, that's a dead issue.
That's, okay. And then on 7-28, we did 7-3E. Mr. Gottschalk, do you want to be doing this, by the way? I don't need to be moderating
No,
this.
you're doing great, but I think it's 8-3
8-3.
on conflict.
I was on capital improvements.
Well, capital improvements, well.
Oh, did I get out of order?
Sorry. No,
Yeah.
7-8.
7-8.
7-8.
Public improvement assessment.
What happened to
Yeah,
7-?
They were all
7-8,
passed the same
8-3.
day,
You can't have
they're just in
7-8.
different order. What are we at?
I put mine in numerical order. Which order did you guys use?
Well, we used systematic random.
All right, 7-8, 3 sentences to the end of the first
Where are we?
section.
7, 8?
Yes.
Why don't I, here we go. Capital
Oh, it's the
improvements.
special benefits section.
All right.
That was just getting us up to speed on state law. Is that correct?
It was broadening language in 7-8 that currently provides just for sewer and water projects to be assessed. But state law does allow for assessment of benefits with respect to other projects. And so this broadened that section to include what state law allows.
All right, good. Mr. Gottschalk, what would be the next section you would like us to look at?
D-3 conflict?
Whoa, wait, 7, 8. We haven't discussed that, have we?
Oh,
There's been a lot of discussion about the intent of this. Could it mean that, could the city go in and pave a road and charge people for it? Does this language provide for that contingency or that possibility? The other thing that we kicked around at the time was that the individual citizens, I believe, are responsible for their sewer line as it flows under the city streets. And that sewer line is subject to salt and everything else that the city puts down there, and so corrosion of that may be at no fault of the homeowner, and yet they have to pay for it, and that can be a very expensive thing. And did we want to address that?
No.
This language will cover that. However, that topic is already dealt with in the Code of Ordinances, which provide for the possibility, anyway, of an assessment to cover special benefits that accrue to property and property owners as a result of public improvements, generally. So yes, it's possible that the city would elect to pave a road and apportion some special benefit, whatever that special benefit might be, to each property owner along that road. But it's only, in my recollection, only come up once, and quickly disappeared when I pointed out to the Common Council that because the road in question was also used by the public, that it was not possible to assign 100% of the cost of that improvement to the property owners who lived on the road. The council would have to engage in some kind of exercise to determine what part of the benefit accrued to the public generally and what part accrued to the people who lived there specifically. And it becomes a difficult exercise and has never been used. However, because the charter drafters of the original charter elected to address this topic with respect to sewer and water, you could argue, for example, if there's a public benefit generally to providing sewers to particular areas, but we don't go there. But because we tackled sewer and water in this section of the charter, it seemed logical to make it broader. But it's already in the law, in the Code of Ordinances.
So it is possible,
It is possible, but the political
but not
will
likely.
makes it unlikely.
maybe with 4-year terms. Next. Anything else, anyone, any other comments on that? All right. Next section, Mr. Gottschalk.
8-3 now?
Yes.
Yes.
You guys don't know how to do math.
Here we go, this must be it.
Oh. Eight three, as it currently stands,
Yeah.
goes to great lengths to describe what's inappropriate. But it doesn't go on to say that what's inappropriate is prohibited. It seemed logical to do that.
Yeah. This was all the cleanup. Any questions or comments? Keep on going.
What's next?
We'll call that one prohibition.
That was the end of what, of your work on the
It's a
28th of
stapled section,
January.
Mr.
Next was
286.
on February 25th,
Is the date.
you adopted charter corrections.
Mhm.
Want to go through those?
Sure.
Okay.
Why?
Is this letter, this is just correction, Mr.
Yes.
Yes,
Chairman?
this was
Can
just
we
corrections, can just approve it
Can we
as a
just
whole.
approve it as a whole? and
Yeah,
go?
well, we're just going through it in
We're
case
going through
someone,
anything we want to have questions about.
yeah.
Okay.
Does anyone have questions on any of these sections? I mean, this was the easy stuff that we did early on. Do we need to go through it section by section? Everyone's happy with it, you will review it and decide, everyone wants to go home, huh? Okay,
We got a long way to go.
all right.
Relax. You send out for 1-800 Subway.
Yeah.
Joan hasn't had dinner yet.
March 24th, you did 7-10.
Yeah.
No need or interest in doing that again, I presume. That was borrowed.
Why not? Let's just do it again.
Well, let's not,
Whoa, whoa.
we've already
Why
done
not?
that.
What about 8-11? Oh, wait a minute, you're in numericals.
We presented it
Yeah, I'm doing it
anytime.
chronologically.
Okay.
Then in April, on the 14th, we went back and revised one of those corrections that had to do with the
3:10.
organizational meetings to be held every 2 years or every 4 years now in December.
Right.
Following that, we skipped to July 28th, 7-3E. That
Can I
was
make
the,
one comment on that one from April 14? We are gonna have to revise that for the 4-year, because it says biennial, so
Okay.
we'll have to go back and clean up the language, I guess afterwards. Okay.
3E, that was Mr. Swenson's proposal to initiate the process of reviewing capital projects earlier in the
Got it.
budget cycle. And 7-5 concerned emergency appropriations.
Got it.
And the last action we took on that date was the adoption of preamble language.
All right. We're okay with that.
Any other questions, revisions, comments?
No.
Then we can let this stand as is.
Yes.
Wait a minute, we got more things to go through.
Oh, I understand.
All right.
Next, in August, on the 11th, we adopted
Saw again by the minority councilman, that the officers shall recommend, and it's in fact a practice, he's gonna do it anyway. I don't see where it does harm in here.
But why,
We could just as easily pull it off, but what do you think, Mary? On that?
Decided to leave it alone the last time.
You're hungry, that's all. I get your motivation.
keep moving.
Parks and Recreation, and that was the last one.
Next brings us up to 9-8. That was our last meeting. Let me put this back in order. One moment, please. 6, 7, and 6-13, those had to do with Public Works and Department of Parks and Recreation.
That was renaming, basically.
Well, there was a
No,
shift in
it was not.
function, because the maintenance
Yes.
responsibility went to Public
Now,
Works.
now, we didn't vote these.
No, we didn't.
Just so
No.
we're clear on this.
Right.
Did we not vote them?
No,
No.
we discussed, we asked you to make language, and then we need to,
Yeah, I think that's.
Oh, yes, I have handouts.
Oh, I was gonna say,
Yes, we took votes, but you asked me to prepare language. which I
that's
did.
correct.
Thanks, Pete. Thanks, Pete.
Detailed.
First is 6-7, dealing with the Department of Public Works.
Has that changed from this, that you handed out last week?
I don't think it changed. I don't think you recommended any changes to the proposal that I offered to
It
you.
has changed.
Nope,
Yeah, it does.
well, yes.
And the second item was 6-13. It was kind of the corollary to 6-7 because some of the responsibilities of the Department of Parks and Recreation were shifted to Public Works. And there was a change in the title of the director of that department.
Yep.
He's no longer the director of Parks and Rec, he's the director of Recreation.
So this is the old,
That's the new language for this.
Did everyone get one? Okay. Any questions?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
With the adoption of the city clerk language, there were some other changes that were made necessary.
yes, the human resources and the
Right.
welfare, housing and welfare
Yeah.
area. That was just a change in name.
Health and Human Services.
Right.
Mhm.
Before you get to that, however, six three as it currently stands makes reference back to 3-3 that you've now changed. You deleted language which allowed the council to appoint assistant city clerks,
That's correct.
and 6-3, which is the general appointment language, referred back to that by exception.
Right.
We don't need the exception anymore because you've deleted that exception. So here is some new language for 6-3. Apologize to all the trees.
Welcome to government.
They're fulfilling their role.
Yeah. Did we get enough?
We got the city clerk. Accepted this.
Next, I have for you, as you expected, language change to 6-2, and these changes relate to name changes in the two departments. Used to be Health and Housing, now it's Health and Human Services. Used to be Personnel, now it's Department of Human Resources, or Resources.
And these are the changes we actually voted on
Last time.
already, so they don't need to be revisited.
Correct.
So what do we need to act upon?
Peter, it's on the Parks and Rec piece, right?
That's right, those are the only ones that need action from us.
I make a motion, we accept the,
Oh,
no?
you wanna do that right now? Okay. Do
Yeah.
the park, okay.
Yeah, that we
Yeah,
accept
might as
the
well.
submission on Parks and Rec, and what's the other one, Joe?
Public work.
Public Works.
So it's section 6-7
6-7 and 6-13.
and 6-13.
Right.
So a motion has been made that we accept the language in those two sections. According to your handouts, any discussion?
He did.
Hearing none, I'll try your minds. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Okay.
Okay.
It's on.
13.
And five.
6-3.
And five.
Item 5 is discuss any other changes to the charter. Do you have one more handout?
No, I think I've lost track of exactly what just happened.
Okay, what just happened, Rick, just so you'll know, is you gave us the language for Public Works and Parks.
6:7 and 6:13.
Right.
Yes.
We never voted on those.
Okay, so
And
now
so
you've
we
done
just,
that.
we
Now we just
voted,
did
we
it.
accepted.
All right.
That's
Right.
all it had.
And you adopted the city clerk sections? And
Yes.
did you vote on 6-3, the change to delete the exception?
We did not vote on that yet.
We can. I make a motion that we,
Well,
go ahead.
Can I just ask one quick question about that? The present legislative assistant position as we just approved today, okay, that language requires the council to, by 2/3 majority, to approve it. Why wouldn't we still use an exception to that position in this?
Because the appointing authority is the mayor.
Okay, the mayor's gonna appoint that person, and the council's gonna vote, she'll vote to confirm that person.
Confirm.
Right.
But the exception language in 6-3 relates to the appointing authority, and that's the mayor.
But doesn't that
Okay,
say-
fair enough, I got you. Fair
But
enough.
doesn't
I
that
agree.
say to disapprove, that they can know, they can two-thirds to disapprove, and we flip that around to say they must approve?
Why did they vote
The-
affirmative
the-
vote?
We said they confirm by.
That's right.
Why
This,
did
this,
they vote?
this section concerns appointments, and our council just reminded me that the language we voted on earlier this evening as to the legislative assistant provides the mayor will appoint, not that the council will appoint, the mayor will appoint.
Right.
The council shall, so this is fine, the deletion's fine.
And because we
Okay.
took out 3-3,
That's
the
correct.
language, except those appointed by the common council pursuant to 3-3. Okay.
So,
So these are right the way they are?
yes,
So we've
it's
got-
right the way you did it.
Okay.
So I'm
Motion.
just wondering if you want to entertain a motion to adopt the
So
amendment
moved.
to 6-3.
Second.
Okay, you have before you an amendment for appointments of officers and cities of employees, section 6-3. We do need to adopt that if we're going to go ahead with it. Would someone make a motion, please?
Joan did.
Joan did.
Joan
I did.
made a motion that we accept 6-3.
It just needs a second.
A second,
Second.
Mary Comstock. Any discussion? We've kind of been through this, but then again, we've been through a lot of things. All in favor?
Aye.
Signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Next, would you care to adopt the proposed changes to 6-2 concerning name changes to the what was the health department and what was the personnel department?
I think we
We already
We
did
voted on
that.
that, yes, we did.
Yes.
Just now, I missed it.
No,
That's
we-
where I
we
kind of
did that.
flew off the
That
test.
Last week.
Last week.
Okay, okay. So I was just providing you with language.
Yes.
Yes.
Got it. And I have language here for Health and Human Services Department. That would be section 6-11 of the charter.
That's correct, we voted for that too, that's the replacement of health and housing.
Right.
And, but beyond the name change, there was a consolidation of responsibilities. There used to be a welfare department and a health department, now there's one thing.
Okay, so we only voted about the name
We
change.
did, we voted just on the name
We did
change.
not have a
Yes.
discussion about the
Right.
function change.
So I want to pass these out, and you can choose to vote on this tonight or next time.
And this is actual function change now?
Correct. This proposes three things. One is a change to the language dealing with the health department. One is the deletion of language dealing with the current welfare department. And the third is just to remind you that we need to now renumber all the sections. Because we will be deleting the section that relates to welfare.
Okay. So 6-12 goes away.
Were they both charter
Yes,
departments?
yes.
Yeah, yeah,
So then
6-12.
I can read over the word recent consolidation. That didn't take place, right?
Yes, it did.
It's already been done.
It's already been done. Like 2 years ago or so, wasn't it?
Yes.
No.
In terms of function.
It's in transit.
Yes.
It occurred.
Mhm.
Shall we employ the whipping post?
Okay, any questions about that? Can I have a motion, please?
I will bow to my colleague at the end of the table.
For what?
A
A
motion.
motion for this one, to accept this?
Except 6, 11.
Deletion of 612.
So basically, all we did was add and human services
Right. To the-
into the,
Right. The health director picked up a different.
right.
Mhm.
Okay, may I have a motion?
Didn't somebody already move that?
I didn't hear one.
I'm looking for a signal from my colleague at the end of the table.
Just make.
I'll make a
John.
motion that
Make a
we
motion,
accept the
yeah.
changes.
As delineated in this
In
handout,
this,
yes.
relating to section 6-11 and the
Yes.
deletions in 6-12, et cetera, et cetera.
I second.
Second, any discussion?
I just have a question.
Yes.
For council. There are separate statutes in Connecticut regarding municipal welfare functions. And I don't mean to bore the rest of the commission with this, but my memory's a little hazy. Is each town required to have a welfare department under those sections?
The requirements of the state of Connecticut have changed dramatically from the days when we had welfare departments that dealt with distributing
Financial assistance.
financial assistance to people who qualified. Right now, as things stand, those functions have been taken over by the state and modified.
Completely.
Yes.
Okay. So there's no longer a state funding for what we used to consider city welfare.
There's, correct.
Okay.
And to amplify, there's no longer a function being performed by the welfare department of old or the current health and human services department that involves distributing funds.
Okay, so the functions that formerly Debbie McKenzie supervised are pretty much, for the most part, not in existence in city government
That's right.
by the change in state statute.
Fair
enough.
There are other things that are done.
I understand
but not
that, but there's specific ones I was interested in. All right, I have no problem with this then.
Thank you, Peter. That's why I asked, that's why I was looking toward you for advice.
Okay, a motion's been made and seconded that we accept this language as is. Any more discussion? All in favor, vote by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting passes unanimously. Do we have anything else from our esteemed council?
I have no further handouts.
All right. Then let's go over a little bit on the process.
No, item 5.
Oh, item 5, any other changes that people would like to make to the charter? Have we missed anything?
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
There is one piece of business I would like to bring back up. At the last meeting, we took a vote on reducing the referendum, and one member of the commission was missing, and that meant 2 votes were missing from the roll call. The vote was very close. It was a 4-3 vote, I believe. The other commissioner is here, and if Diane would like to make a motion to submit her original motion, I think we ought to vote on it again.
We would need
That's
to
on
add
the
that,
referendum, reducing it from 15% to 10%, I'm sorry.
we would need to add that to the agenda.
No,
then.
it's on the agenda by item number 5. It's covered under that.
Well, it's not specifically on the agenda.
No.
Can we do it?
What does item number 5 say?
It says
Any
commission
other
to discuss
changes?
any other changes to the charter.
I would recommend that you add it by a specific vote.
Okay.
All right, do you want to make a motion?
I make a motion that we revisit the motion by Commissioner Savello to change the percentage for referendum.
All right, a motion's been made that we add an agenda item, which would be revisiting the referendum percentage. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second.
All right, a motion's been made and seconded that we add to the agenda the referendum percentage. Discussion.
I'd really like to discuss this at another meeting, because I think that this is now an important topic. We've adopted as a commission a 4-year term. And I told you I'd be comfortable with that if we all voted for it. So if that's the case, I think that the fine balance that was in place in Danbury with referendums, with bonding, has been altered a little bit by a 4-year term. And I haven't really given enough thought to what I would like to see as a referendum amount or change, but whereas I was not willing to consider it before, I am willing to consider it now, a change. And I'm not really prepared to add to this debate in terms of my reasoning at this time, but I do want to address this issue. And I just think it would deserve a place in a subsequent agenda by this commission.
Okay.
Wow.
And I base that on the adoption of the
Yeah,
4-year term.
because it's, the motion's going to need to be voted on, so it's time for discussion. Any other discussion? Bob, did you want to say?
Yes, I can appreciate what Commissioner Bezat is saying. However, this was a thing that passed by a very narrow vote, and we are going to be down one commissioner at our next meeting. And I think the importance of this, we can always amend it if we choose to, but I think it would be wise to take a vote on this thing to see if there is interest in pursuing it. And it shouldn't take a great deal of time to resolve this.
Okay. Any other thoughts on that?
Because I think we were all in agreement that we would not go below 10%. I don't think there was anybody who felt it should go below 10% at the time. Now, maybe you'll feel differently.
I feel
you know,
differently.
Peter. You know,
Yeah,
I
the
don't-
discussion now is, do we want to address it tonight? Do we add it to the agenda? Anybody else? Comments on whether we add it to the agenda for tonight?
You know, the horse is already out of the barn as it relates to my comments, but this idea that we're gonna be revisiting things shows such a lack of respect to the prior votes and the prior reasonings and everything that was done by this commission prior, that we are, and bullies, maybe a strong word, being bullied into looking at everything that we've already done because there may be a commissioner who doesn't think that this is the way it should, the vote didn't go the way he thought it, or she thought it should go. And I think it's a terrible precedent. I'm disappointed that we've had to do this, and I say that with all due respect to all the members and allowing Diane to vote. This is probably not even the proper time to bring it up, but it's as close as I can come. But I'm disappointed. I really am that this commission has dropped to this level. I really am.
Well, Commissioner Swenson, the thing that I'm bringing this up was at the last time, as I said, there were 8 members present, and the chairman could not vote because there was no tie. In essence, there were 2 non-voting. Had the chairman voted, I believe his intention was to vote for a decline in the referendum amount. Had he done that, it would have been a tie vote.
As I was saying,
And
this
Commissioner
is.
Curran would have been then the deciding vote.
I just think that this whole idea of revisiting votes and re-voting on things that we've already voted on shows such a lack of respect of what we've done up till now. And the votes that were taken, the reasoning was done at the time, that we are reworking what we've already worked. Like I said, I think this is the wrong time to bring it up because maybe a vote in this particular case should have been done, but this may be the one time we should reconsider But I'm just very disappointed that it's come to this, I really am.
Okay. Any other comments on whether we should add that to the agenda for tonight? I will try your minds. All in favor of adding it to the agenda tonight, please raise your hand. 1, 2, 3 votes to add it tonight. Opposed? 1, 2, 3, 4 votes. So we will not add it to tonight's agenda. Okay, thank you. This section also is to discuss any other changes to the charter. Are there things that people would like to bring up that we have not addressed or that need to be readdressed as things have changed as we move through this process? Okay, then we'll move to the next section, which is agree on a process and timing to submit to the Common Council our report. Mr. Gottschalk.
I misspoke before. I do have one more handout.
What if we don't want to add that to the agenda?
It's titled Charter Revision Wrap-Up,
Ah,
and I thought that it would be of interest to you. It identifies the steps, starting with the preparation of the draft report and ending with the adoption of new charter language. Clear enough?
How many people would like to be working on this in December? Signify by raising your hands.
and when are you leaving on your trip?
I am gone most of next month, so
Mhm.
that's why this is
Right.
somewhat timely.
Council, what kind of notice are we supposed to give for a public hearing?
Not more than 5 nor less than 15 days.
And does anyone have the dates that we had established in October for our meeting dates? So that we're not doing a special meeting? I'm sorry?
In October 6th and 20th.
Okay, because I had in there, are any of those holidays? Because I had a question mark.
Columbus
on
is
the
the
third.
13th.
Okay, so Columbus Day was the 13th, that's why I had that in there. Okay. So we know that we have a couple of items at the next meeting for agenda items, which will be October 6th.
Are you gonna be in?
I will be here October 6th, I will not be here on October 20th.
I thought the goal was to have the report to the Common Council by the first part of November. I thought that's the time schedule that you had put us on. Am I misinformed?
If we can get it done, I think that that makes the most sense.
So you're not available for the 20th, is that correct?
That's that, I will not be here for that meeting.
Okay.
So the question is, Rick, what is drafting the report? Do you, what does draft the report? Do you basically put together all the language that we've done? I mean, is it simply compiling all of the changes that we've made in a cover letter? Or,
It can be whatever you want it to be. If I were going to draft it, that's what I would do.
okay. So drafting it shouldn't be terribly difficult. We've got to schedule a time for a public hearing, which would have to be then sometime in November at the earliest. Because if, what do you think, everybody? How quickly can we get this done?
We're only gonna have 2 meetings?
Well,
Yeah,
we're gonna be
26th.
meeting, you know what, we're gonna be meeting in November in order to do this, I'm sure.
Well, I think we should change our schedule we should not have the meeting on the 20th, you're not here, and that meeting would be, instead of that meeting, have a public hearing when you're available, at your earliest availability.
Okay.
So we're looking at October 6th for a meeting.
Public hearing at some point in either the end of October or the beginning of November, and
When are you
following.
back from your trip?
You have to have the draft ready before the public hearing.
Right.
We'll do the draft next, in October 6th.
I would be back on, I would be back for like November 3rd if we wanted to stay on Monday nights.
Excuse me? November
Sorry,
3rd.
what?
Is that a bad day?
You're coming back when?
I'll be back for November 3rd is my first Monday back.
When do you leave? Will you be available on the 13th?
Well, that's Columbus Day,
Columbus
so
Day.
my guess is that's not going to work.
What about the 14th?
The 14th is a Tuesday. I am here.
Is there a problem with room availability on Tuesdays?
Yeah,
I'm sure
what's
we can
the,
find a space somewhere.
Council?
Council meets on Tuesdays.
on
Friday?
First,
Tuesday.
first Tuesday.
Right. So
Okay,
that's-
so the
that would be
14th is a
Tuesday.
potential date if you're, I mean, I'm not worried about you guys working without me. I would kind of relish the idea.
That's PTO.
Okay,
You don't think we're gonna get the draft report done next week?
No.
I mean, we have virtually all of these things here already.
we've got a couple of items
I have
to
a
finish
couple
up.
to discuss, yeah. and then-
So that'll be the
And
next
that's it.
meeting. So do you want to meet on the 14th? That would have to be a special meeting, and we'd have to post it as a special meeting.
To draft the report.
Now,
Is that what you're saying?
yeah, I'm completely confident that you guys could meet on that week, the week that I'm gone.
All right.
That would just be, that would be,
Then we would be discussing the draft, right?
Yes.
Correct.
yeah.
And
But the fact is, the work is done. I think it's more like,
Just putting it together.
yeah, putting it together.
Mm-hmm.
So do you want to keep our schedule as is?
would we then try to submit it? Would we, well, again, we're backed up. Do we have to draft a report before we hold the public hearing?
Yes.
Yeah.
We
Yes,
do.
just a
So
draft
we have
report.
to present that to the public?
So-
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, we
Yeah,
do.
then you know what? Then I think what we do is let's keep our schedule.
Yes,
Goal is to have the draft report done by October 20th,
right.
and then we'll do the public hearing as early in November as possible, maybe by the end of October. How many days' notice, I'm sorry, Rick, on?
5 to 15.
Oh, okay, 5 to 15?
Correct.
So we could even possibly meet before the end of October, a public hearing before the end of October, or very early in November.
You have to schedule it with the newspaper, so they need some lead
Right.
time.
But based on that, that gives us a 2 or 3 week window before we get into the holidays. We would then have the public hearing,
Like the first week in November.
Yeah.
Probably.
It's elections and stuff.
and then I'm thinking,
God, yes.
then there's gonna be a little
You're not
bit,
gonna
well,
do
there's gonna be,
anything.
there's gonna be a little,
November's election, hello.
well,
Yeah, no, but you know, we're talking about, we want people to come vote.
I didn't say we're gonna meet on election night or the night
Well,
before.
Night before, you know, we might need time.
That's on the floor.
to prepare
Yeah, that's
what we're
November
voting
4th,
for.
right?
Mhm.
So if we made it for November 11th, which would be our normal meeting anyway,
It's PTO.
I think that's
Veterans Day.
State holiday.
I have it as a 10.
No, the 10th.
It's being celebrated on the 10th.
Really?
Parent conference week.
so maybe,
November 10th, it's a Monday.
so what do you think?
Parent conference night, I won't be here.
November 10th, you wouldn't be here for the public hearing?
Parent conference night.
Because if we get much later, we're gonna get into the holidays, and we're never gonna get people
Night.
either out or whatever. And then we hand it off to the city clerk. We would make January 1st easily on that schedule. If you want to slide it and go from the 10th to either the 17th, the 24th, I certainly wouldn't recommend. I mean, that's Thanksgiving week. If we let it slide after that, we get into December, and I'm not so sure that anyone's going to be real happy about that.
What is the 10th now when we're talking about, I'm sorry,
Talking about having the public hearing?
public hearing?
If we can if we can get the work done and the draft done next week, the draft basically completed October 20th, public hearing November 10th. I think these are targets. I don't think we announced the
The draft
public
is on
hearing.
the 20th now, not the 10th. October,
Yeah, well, we could start the draft next week, but the next meeting, we have a couple of issues that we have yet to resolve. And then start the
then start the
draft,
draft.
complete the draft on the 20th.
November
And
10th?
set up November 10th as a public
November
hearing.
10th is just a Monday.
Yeah, November 10th is a
meet
Monday.
on the 8th,
You know what, I'm sorry.
cancel the 8th.
October 6th is the next meeting, not the,
Right.
so the next meeting's October 6th. We finish up what we're doing and start the
December.
draft.
Said October 20th.
The draft is then done on the 20th,
Right.
This is a 10th.
That's
and public hearing on the
Public
10th tentatively.
Can I send my legal representatives?
Yes,
Authorized.
Excuse me, authorized / legal.
yes, your designee.
My designate.
It's just a public hearing anyway. We'll have it all on
You
tape
won't
for
need me,
you.
is that what you're trying to
It'll
say?
all be on
I'm
tape,
gonna
so you
feel
can listen to
so-
the
All right.
tapes.
And after that, we'll go
And
revisit everything.
watch
we
it.
decided.
Oh, it's on tape.
And then I think
I
after
can
that,
go
then
in
I
and
think everything else will kind of take care of itself. We'll be on the toboggan ride. Any, Pete, Eric?
My only thought is that you may want to reserve a date, perhaps consistent with your schedule, for a discussion of what you've heard at the public hearing.
Mm,
The object of the public hearing is to provide input.
Right,
And make
that you might
changes.
and make
benefit.
any changes.
That's on the 24th.
Revisit the revisions.
We could do that on the 24th. That's what we're scheduled for. That's
Start the draft.
When's Thanksgiving?
27th.
Thanksgiving's late this year. They're in this week.
It's during Thanksgiving week, so
So the 10th,
that's like more than everything.
Okay.
So, so
November
The
24th,
17th?
then we would
Oh,
meet.
24th.
what date?
The 24th?
That's what we're scheduled for already.
That's Thanksgiving week, isn't it?
Right.
Yeah.
Special meeting.
Okay, are people gonna wanna meet Monday of Thanksgiving week?
Unless you're baking pies.
Not gonna bake them Monday
So
anyway.
11/24 is our meeting regarding the public session.
Right.
Okay,
There you
so
go.
you got 6, 20,
Okay,
November 10, November 24.
anything else? I've lost my minutes.
Is there any length this public hearing has to be?
30 minutes,
30 minutes?
2 minutes per person,
With or without authorized representatives.
with or without authorized
I don't
representatives.
I don't think we'll have that many people here. All right, so
I
tentatively.
love your attendance.
So tentatively, October 6th, October 20th, November 10th, public hearing, November 24th is our meeting regarding the public hearing, and then we will try to tighten it up with Mr. Gottschalk's input as far as loose ends and how we tie up this commission.
And just so I'm clear, it's your expectation that I will present a proposed draft report to you on the 20th?
That would
Yes.
be spectacular.
20th of
Yeah, but if you want to do a preliminary based on where we are up to that point, that's, I mean, if it's as much as we're just putting all these documents together, that would be great.
I haven't reviewed the draft reports from prior charter revision commissions recently to decide whether or not they're in some kind of narrative format or just a recitation of provisions and votes taken. But I think I'll do that and come up with something for you. I
That would be
don't really know what
That would be great.
it should be.
I think most of us like the Federalist Papers model.
Thanks. If you could be somewhat Jeffersonian, we would really
No, he
appreciate it.
didn't do that.
Is
Yeah.
it possible?
Let's not get our founding
Oh,
fathers.
okay.
How about a paragraph with a bunch of bullets?
Is it possible?
Not that I want to hold you to
Ready
a
by
high
the
standard.
7th of December? That's what I'm hoping.
Supposed to get an up.
Rick, if we did this, we had our meeting after the 24th, could we present this by December 2nd?
Good.
Right? There's nothing to stop us from doing that.
To
And
the
once it
common
gets,
council.
yeah,
The only possible disadvantage is that the Common Council has what seemed to me to be a burdensome schedule to meet. And if you pitch it to them in the beginning of December, then they're gonna have to schedule a public hearing within a time frame. Then they're going to have to make recommendations to you. They have to confer with you. You have to consider it, and things might get knocked out of whack. I think that's something we ought to take a look at. You can, there's nothing that prevents you from submitting it prior to your deadline. It's just that here we are in or there we will be in the middle of.
We would
holiday
actually give
season.
them more flexibility if we waited till January
January.
to give them our
Yes.
report, and that would give them a wider window to hold their hearings. So probably, that's, but you know what, if we can wrap our end up by November 24th, that would be great, because that'll give us a week or 2 weeks if we need to slide another meeting in.
But this
Okay.
16-month process, it doesn't include the review process, is that correct?
No.
No.
The 16 months
Is our
is your deadline for submission of the draft report.
Oh, we've got a lot more time then, Carlo.
As long as the expense account's working, let's keep it up. Just perfect.
Expense account? What?
Yeah, did
Oh,
you catch
haven't
that?
got- oh, you haven't gotten your check yet, Joe?
Forgot to tell you about that part.
Oh, sorry, Joe. Must be in the wrong political party. I will accept, would anybody like to, would anyone like to move that we adjourn the meeting?
Oh, we're having so much fun, I'm sure there's something else we can do.
Can we reelect a new chairman? What?
Please.
We adjourn.
May I have a motion to adjourn? A motion's been made that we adjourn. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Yes.
No, just good luck to
All in favor, say aye.
Alabama.
Meeting's adjourned. Good night.
Good luck to them.